Where to begin? There are 5 major ways to craft in Path of Exile. When starting, you always hold Alt on the item you're crafting to check that the item's item level, is high enough to hit the mods you want. Mods and affixes mean the same thing. The classic way to craft is to use orbs. They all say exactly what they do, but you want to think about if the affixes you're going for are prefixes or suffixes. Yellow rare items have up to 3 of each, while blue magic items can only have 1 of each. You can try Chaos Orb spamming if you want to hit 2 prefixes or 2 suffixes you want, but it's pure random and usually is not the best way to start crafting. If you're classic crafting, you usually scour the item with the orb and then you quality it, in this case with Catalyst since it's an amulet. Then you transmute it to blue and spam alteration orbs to roll for the first mod you want. If the item is influenced, say with a Shaper or Crusader, etc., this can be a way to procure the affix for sure, especially if you're then using an Awakener orb to fuse items into a double influenced item. The crafting bench lets you target add mods you want and also allows for what is called blocking. Simply if you craft on mana as a prefix and then going with the crafting process, like let's say Veiled Chaos Orb or Slamming Exalt, you cannot hit mana now since you temporarily put it on there. You then later replace the mana craft with another affix you want at the end. The bench also includes what are called meta crafting mods, which prevent rolling attack mods, caster mods, or adds on prefixes or suffixes cannot be changed. Note that the only prefix meta mod is suffixes cannot be changed, which itself is a prefix. This leads us to the second way to craft, Hoarder crafting. This costs life force you can buy or collect from the harvest mechanic, but allows reforging an item entirely with a guaranteed category of affix. Remember, pressing Alt on the item lets you see what categories each affix is. You can also, but it's expensive, add the guaranteed mod type while removing another random affix. This can force on certain mods if only that mod type can roll on that item. Unfortunately, you cannot use this on influenced items, limiting its use quite a bit. Both classic crafting and harvest crafting respect meta mods, like the cannot roll caster mods, etc. that I just mentioned. The third category is beast crafting. You collect yellow beast from Einhar missions, and then either collect red beasts, or you can buy them from other players with bestiary orbs. This technique allows for more specific adjusting of an item, like removing a prefix and adding a suffix, or adding on a meta mod. Since suffixes cannot be changed as the only prefix, you can force it on this way for less cost than the crafting bench, if the rare item has 3 suffixes already. You can also craft talismans, flasks, etc. here. The fourth category is essence crafting, which is a lot of fun since you're guaranteeing that affix on every use, even if that affix cannot normally roll on that item. However, essence crafting does not respect the meta mods, so you have to use essences first in the process, otherwise you roll over all your work if you're first starting with classic crafting or harvest crafting. You thus normally use essences in this way. If it's, let's say, a prefix mod that's being forced on, you're guaranteeing it with each slam, and then you're rolling for a second prefix, the same way you would with an alteration orb, or vice versa, of course. If it's a suffix, you're rolling for a suffix. Then you can use meta crafting and what the game calls basic currency, the classic crafting techniques, which does also include the Veiled Chaos Orb to reforge an item with a new Veiled mod. The Veiled mod pool varies from what can normally roll on an item. The final major category of crafting is using fossils. You put the fossils in the resonator. These fossils not only increase the chance of that mod rolling by a factor of 10, they also block certain mods from rolling entirely. You can thus combine fossils for more deterministic outcomes. Like essence crafting though, resonators do not respect meta mods, so this step must be done first. This also means that there is no such crafting process which will utilize both essence crafting and fossil crafting. Path-of-Exile.com is a great resource which allows you to see what mods can roll on certain item types, the chances of them hitting, the eye level required, and can also be used to simulate crafting in general. Let's say we want an amulet with the strength suffix, and prefixes, max life, and +1 to all lightning skill gems. It takes around 1900 Chaos Orb slams if we want to try to hit all these tier 1s all at the same time like we selected. But we can also go in and see what fossils help the outcome. Say we use a 3-socket resonator, we calculate, and the system recommends fundamental, pristine, and sanctified fossils, taking approximately 98 tries to hit. This is still pretty expensive, so you think, as a novice crafter, hey, maybe essences are better. You start to look into it. There's no essence which adds plus to max life on an amulet. So instead, let's use a strength essence, and roll for that, and then we can do suffixes cannot be changed, use harvest hoarder crafting to guarantee a life mod, right? You think that? Problem. Here's the problem. The problem is the +1 to lightning skill gems that you would be rolling for is extremely rare, and each harvest craft rerolls all the prefixes if the item has suffixes cannot be changed. Suffixes cannot be changed as a sentence is a prefix itself, so the harvest craft will lose this line entirely. You'd be spending 2 divine to add it on, and then you'd be hoping to hit the +1 to lightning on the first try, which is highly unlikely. In reality, the best way to craft these 3 mods alone would be to alteration spam for the rare +1 to lightning affix, since alteration orbs are cheap and common. You can pretend here my +1 to chaos skills that I hit was lightning instead, it was just a demo. Then you use exalts and annuls until we get either decent strength or life. So I decided to beastcraft, add a prefix, remove a suffix, because this was protecting my +1 to chaos. It couldn't remove it, it's a prefix, it's locked in there. If this were serious, you should have benchcrafted on mana to prevent mana from being added in this process. And as you can see, I did hit life, which was the goal. It was a very low tier 6. You know, you could annul, you could exalt, you could try this process again, and then go to the benchcraft and just go ahead and add on, in this case, strength. This is a bad amulet, sure, but it does show the process, especially if you're on something like Solo Self-Found. The last thing to mention first is that if an affix is fractured, it is locked on the item just as is the implicit, so allows for working on other affixes without worrying about losing that mod. Second, implicits are locked in, but they aren't permanently locked. They can be rerolled with Val Orbs, which corrupts the item and minimizes the ways it can be further crafted, although Valing can also break the item into a rare, randomizing the mods. Or you can add a synthesis implicit with Hoarder crafting, but you want to do this first since it's pretty much a gamble.